Alright guys, remember Lowkey Esports? They're the org that owed their players and staff more than $137,000 in late payments. Well, after failing to meet their latest final date for repayment, a ton of other players and staff have come out of the woodwork, contacted me, and told me about considerable sums of money they are still owed. Since then, I've been in contact with Riot Games. I've reached out to the org's owners, and I've talked to a lawyer. Here's what happens next. Okay, so it was about 3 weeks ago when I first reported on the Lowkey Esports incident. Now, in case you're not up on Lowkey, they're a global esports brand that has teams all across the world. Some of them are fairly insignificant. Some of them, though, like their League of Legends team and their Rocket League squad, have made their game's respective world championships.
And it was no fluke. Lowkey are the real deal coming into RLCS Season 8 World Championship.
Making history for the South American region, Lowkey taking down Veloce and Tander had an amazing game.
There was one major problem though. Lowkey Esports owed their players and staff globally well over $137,000. Long story short, since about October of 2019, Lowkey Esports have owed people a lot of money. They've failed to communicate with those people in a responsible manner. They have failed on multiple promises for repayment and have put a lot of young people looking to break into esports in a pretty shitty situation. Since we first released that initial report, 3 things happened. Number 1, a ton of different people came out of the woodwork to tell me about money that they are still owed, and I mean a ton. 2, Garena, the company licensed to distribute League of Legends in the Southeast Asia region, took matters into their own hands. More on that later. 3, I was able to nail down a hard deadline from one of the owners, Tony Nguyen, for final repayment of money owed by Lowkey Esports. That date for final repayment was Sunday, January 26th. So what happened? Well, unfortunately, not everybody got paid. In fact, a lot of people didn't get paid. Some individuals, a few of them among the most publicly vocal and a few of them who appeared on record in my last video on this subject, did get their money by Sunday. And a few got their money only after the deadline and after they persistently bothered management about it. But at least they got it. Unfortunately, many people didn't, including their South American Rocket League team that made the World Championships in Season 7 and Season 8 last year. But they're far from the only ones. As of this recording, here are just some of the people who've told me they haven't got their money. Social media managers, Brazilian Rainbow Six Siege players from the female division, South American Rocket League players and staff, designers, Brazilian CSGO staff, NA Apex Legends players, certain regional managers, PUBG players, staff working for Lowkey in Korea, and more. All those people were supposed to be paid. They weren't. And those are just the people that I'm in contact with. At this point, it seems some former Lowkey players and staff are starting to take matters into their own hands. For example, the manager of Lowkey's former Brazilian CSGO team told me that he and a number of other individuals who formerly worked for Lowkey are consulting with a lawyer about potential legal action. And it's worth noting here, guys, that since my initial video came out, a ton of people have reached out to me and told me horror stories that aren't even related to the $137,000, including some that go back to Lowkey Studios / GG Easy, the video editing arm of Lowkey. Now, I mentioned earlier that Garena, the company that distributes League of Legends in Southeast Asia, is looking into the situation. Basically, one of Lowkey's most successful teams, which is their League of Legends squad, is based in Vietnam, which is of course in that region. They came 17th, 20th at Worlds last year. I received information a short time ago that Garena and potentially Riot Games themselves are putting very serious pressure on Lowkey. I reached out to Riot Games to try and discern the nature of this pressure, what is actually going on behind the scenes. And here are a few statements they sent to me from their colleagues at Garena. Hi Colin, thank you for reaching out. It's important to clarify that Riot's interaction with Lowkey Esports is in regards to the Lowkey Esports team competing in Vietnam in the League of Legends Vietnam Championship Series, VCS. We have no insight into the ongoings of their global org outside of Vietnam, including Lowkey teams competing in other games / esports. Riot Games and Garena, our publishing partner for League of Legends in Southeast Asia, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Macau, work diligently to ensure that all teams comply with our global league operations policies, including upholding financial commitments to their players. I further reached out for more clarification on what exactly this means. And here's what I got. Quote, "We are working with Lowkey to ensure adherence to our global league operations policies," end quote. So what can we take from those statements? Well, it's tough to tell. Obviously, something is going on behind the scenes, that much is clear. But exactly what, Garena and Riot won't say at this time. But according to information provided to me by multiple sources with knowledge of the situation, it is entirely possible that Lowkey Esports will be kicked out of the VCS by Riot. Now, this particular information has come to me very recently. Should I find out more, should I get a confirmation, you'll be the first to know. So what about the owners of Lowkey Esports? Where are they in all of this? Well, I've been in, let's call it, intermittent contact through Twitter DMs with one of them by the name of Tony Nguyen. Now, Tony is the one who gave me the latest final repayment deadline. That was Sunday, January 26th. I reached out to him about the missing money, the blown deadline, and Riot Games and Garena's involvement in this situation. He sent me the following statement. "I've personally been dealing with / communicating with players / staff and working to get their payments out, many of which have already been paid. The management on the Lowkey Esports side has been at constant work to get things in order. I am doing what I can do to assist them since, as stated before, I run the marketing and media side more of the other businesses. There are players yet to be paid, but we are covering one team at a time. We are all different companies from Lowkey Community to Lowkey Esports, but we help each other regardless. I personally am not going anywhere and will continue to represent this brand along with the many hardworking staff and talent. The mistakes of one company will reflect on the others, and we understand that. All players and staff are open to DM me. I will continue resolving the issues every day to every second." Now, he's not actually an owner, but I also reached out to Max Wood, who during this entire process has been the middleman communicating between Lowkey management and ownership and Lowkey staff and players. I asked him about the blown deadline for repayment, and what he said to me was, quote, "From what I've been told, payments have been going out and people are being paid slowly, albeit. I've been sent screenshots and confirmed with some managers / teams." I also asked him to confirm some of that more eye-popping information about Garena and Riot Games involvement. Now, he wouldn't tell me anything specific, but he did acknowledge the possibility of Lowkey Esports being removed from the VCS, from League of Legends in Vietnam. Now, I said earlier that a group of former players and staff have been consulting with a lawyer to see if there's a legal recourse to everything that's happened to them on Lowkey. And the legality of this entire situation has been on my mind throughout the weeks that I've been reporting on it. Josh Marcus of MKM, a Toronto-based law firm that specializes in esports, told me that people who are a part of Lowkey or have been, who haven't been paid yet and are owed money, could conceivably have a case, so to speak. The question, as he pointed out to me, is whether or not it's actually worth it.
When you're getting money late, you could probably make an argument that you should be getting some interest on that. You know, we're talking not a lot of interest, maybe 3% over a year. That's, then brought down to about 3 months. And, you're kind of left, okay, at what point is it worth pursuing a case? But certainly, if you're not paid whatsoever, yeah, that's your recourse. Your recourse is to the courts to dispute resolution, to really prove that there is that breach of contract.
This is especially true in the Lowkey situation because a lot of the affected people are pretty young. They don't have the money necessarily to hire a lawyer. They don't have the money to pay for court filings. They don't have the time to take off work or school to represent themselves. So I asked Josh, the esports lawyer, what do you do if you're 19 years old, you're trying to live the esports dream, and something like this happens?
The first step is really when you get that contract, before you sign it, either have a lawyer, another legal professional, an esports coach, somebody who is very familiar with the industry and how these contracts should be written. Just have a look at it. Even if it's a matter of pointing out what you're agreeing to, there's often little red flags that are hidden in there or things that are misdrafted that really could come back to bite you in the end. Once you're already signed and you're at this point, keeping a constant communication trail, keeping things in writing wherever possible, even if that's Discord or text message, something that just shows the position or the situation that you've been put in. All of that can help down the line. It's hard to tell how the whole industry will unfold. But certainly, there's no reason not to be protecting your rights at this stage. And even if it's a matter of writing to the team and bugging them every month and saying, where's my money? You're at least showing that, hey, I haven't forgotten about this. This should be there. And if the team's going to be successful, they're going to want to make sure that they're paying you out. Otherwise, they get a lot of bad press.
If you ask me, who can challenge Astralis? Yeah, Team Liquid. Yeah, Mousesports can give them a little run for their money. I still don't really fully believe they can beat Astralis in the long term, but I want to see the likes of Zywu and the likes of Simple on teams on which that enable them to succeed. I want to see them fight Astralis. I want to see the ultimate 5-man unit versus the ultimate individual frag fest.